What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best eye shot ranger build in part of Exile's 2 new update. This setup takes everything that people love about the lightning arrow meta build and flips it into the cold based monster that freezes, shatters and absolutely demolishes maps at the lightning speed. In patch 0.3 the cold bow skills and the Deadeye both received huge buffs, and when you put those two things together then you will get a build that doesn't just clear screens, it destroys them before enemies even have a chance to move. For map clearing, the eye shot is your powerhouse. With the right support gems, the projectile train across the screen, and spreading the chill ground and freezing everything in their path, the monster groups just don't die, they explode in a cascade of shatters and the Herald of the Ice stacks, by leaving nothing behind. And when it's time for bosses, then you bring out the lightning rod, the orb of storms and the snipe, while stacking freezing effects that keep them locked down. The fact that you can do both, so clear like a speed demon and take down in-game encounters, makes this build incredibly versatile. And remember, if you wanna check this build, look up the best items, the skill trees and power of building, then check my link in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM, they are a pro website that provides PoV2 services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of quality items and gems and much more. They have also more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. So now let's break down the most important skill gems. At its core, we are centering everything around the eye shot. This is your main clearing ability, and the bread and butter skill that carries the build. When you fire the eye shot, the projectile not only deals direct cold damage, but also creates a chilling ground behind it, which slows enemies, and stacks freeze effects across the map. Then the ice-tapped arrows are the best perfect secondary skill, by providing additional cold damage while stacking freeze and the blind effects on tougher enemies. This not only boosts your crowd control, but also makes enemies more vulnerable to your other abilities. When you combine the ice tap arrows with the chilling ground from the ice shot, as they're unable to respond before you shatter them, then the freezing salvo is where the things get spicy. This skill adds a huge cold projectile damage and is perfect for both AoV and single target scenarios. Supported by the hourglass for the cooldown manipulation and the cold penetration for breaking through the resistances. The freezing salvo ensures that bosses and elite monsters can hide behind high defenses. When you drop this on top of a pack, you're guaranteed an icy explosion of the dead. For debuffs, we are running the Frost Bomb. This applies the cold exposure, which makes enemies take significantly more cold damage. With the potent exposure and the magnified aerial support, your Frost Bombs become larger and more consistent source of vulnerability for the enemies. Dropping this before a boss fight will set you up for a massive burst damage. Then Herald of the Ice is where the clear speed really goes over the top. Every time you freeze and shatter an enemy, it causes icy explosions that chain through the pack. Combine that with your ice shot chaining, and suddenly every screen turns into a chain reaction of freezing detonations. The Herald is supported with the Overleech, the Cold Attunement and Elemental Armament, which all amplify your scaling and consistency. And then finally, for single target nukes, you will be using the Snipe. This is your big high damage channel skill that absolutely melts bosses in seconds. Next up, moving over to the passive tree, and this is where you really transform the eye shot Deadeye into an unstoppable force. The core psychology of the tree is simple: maximize cold damage, maximize projectile scaling, and add enough defenses so you don't get one shot. From the beginning, you will branch into projectile damage, bow attack speed and the crit multipliers. These are the bread and butter for any bow build, and they make the eye shot scale beautifully. You also want to invest into the clusters that enhance the cold damage specifically, so things like the cold penetration, freeze duration and the cold exposure. This ensures that not only do you hit hard, but enemies stay frozen long enough for you to capitalize. Then defensively, you're investing into the evasion and life, which naturally synergizes with the ranger's playstyle. With the high evasion, mobility and the Wind Dancer keystone, you can avoid the majority of incoming damage. The build plays the best when you're constantly moving, so these defenses will line up perfectly with your natural gameplay. Then Javel sockets are another important aspect of the tree. These will give you flexibility, so early on you can grab resistances or mana sustain, and then later you can swap in the pure gems with the projectile multipliers, crit chance and attack speed. On Javels, your priority should be on mana kill, as it smooths out early sustained problems. Next up we have Ascendancy. Deadeye is already one of the fastest and most powerful Ascendancies in patch 0.3, and with the Ice Shot it becomes downright unfair. First up, you'll want the Cold Shot. This node empowers your marks by ensuring that the Sniper's mark and the Freezing mark will provide devastating debuffs to your targets. It's a direct boost to your single target performance. Then next is the Gathering Winds. This is a keystone of the Deadeye experience. It grants the Tailwind, which massively increases your attack speed, movement speed and evasion. It's one of the most fun and impactful buffs in the entire game, and it makes the build feel silky smooth to play. After that we take Avidity. This adds more damage scaling and synergizes perfectly with your projectile heavy toolkit. It's the raw power that helps you keep up with the toughest content. And then finally we grab the Thrilling Chase. This node boosts your chaining mechanics by further empowering your Ice Shot to cover the entire screen. When we combine this with the Hurl of Ice, it creates an endless cycle of freezing explosions. Then now let's shift gears and talk about the Atlas passive tree, because this is where you define your in-game farming strategy. The good news is that this build thrives in the dense content, so we are going to lean into that. In the 0.3 update, the central tree has some of the best notables for the essences: Harvest, the Strong Boxes and Delirium, and that's exactly where we want to focus on. Essence will give us consistent crafting mats, then Harvest will provide deterministic upgrades, and Strong Boxes and Delirium crank the monster density to insane levels. On the right hand side you will path into the Legion and Expeditions, which will add even more monsters and loot explosions to your maps. And then at the top you'll invest into the bossing nodes that improve encounters like the Conquerors, Maven and the Shaper. That way you're always ready to farm bosses without having to respec your tree. The key here is not to spread yourself too thin. You're clustering around synergetic mechanics that give both the loot and crafting value. For example, the Essence plus the Strong Boxes will guarantee consistent profits, while Harvest lets you shape your gear in a deterministic way, combined with Delirium for the raw monster density, and you're never wasting your time. This Atlas tree is designed for players who want a steady currency generation, while still being able to push into the in-game bosses whenever they want. It's flexible, profitable, and perfectly suited for our fast Deadeye build. Then next up we have gear, which is always a big one, so let's break it down. Your number one priority is your bow. This build scales insanely well with the weapon quality, so the stronger your bow, the better everything feels. Look for a high base DPS bow with an added cold damage, added physical damage and ideally plus levels to projectile gems. A Gemini base is a fantastic starting point. If you can find a bow with a crit chance as well, then that's where your damage really starts to explode. For your quiver, you wanna focus on the flat damage, attack speed and projectile modifiers. Then mana on kill is amazing bonus here, by smoothing out sustain early. Then projectile speed also makes the Ice Shot feel cleaner. Then for your gloves and ring you should prioritize the flat cold damage, resistances and attack speed. Rings with the added physical or the cold damage to attacks are especially valuable. Your amulet is a great place to grab levels to bow or projectile gems, as well as critical strike multipliers. Later on, anointing a damage node like the serrated edges can push your damage even further. Then defensively, we focus on high evasion gear for your chest and the boots. Resistances should always be kept at 75%, and movement speed on the boots make the build feel much smoother. The Jewels are where you round everything out. You want mana on kill, which is a must-have, and after that prioritize attack speed, cold damage, crit multipliers, and projectile damage. Overall, the gear progression is simple. Upgrade your bow first, then cap resistances and scale evasion, and finally min-max your accessories. And now last but not least, let me show you the gameplay. For clearing, it does not get much simpler than just spamming the Ice Shot. In the background, the Herald of Ice will handle the chain explosions, and your Ice Shot projectiles will ricochet through entire packs by freezing everything in their path, so pretty much the screen clears itself. Against bosses, your rotation is slightly more involved, but still very easy to manage. So open by dropping the Frost Bomb to apply the cold exposure, then set up the Orb of Storms and the Lightning Rod to stack on the bosses. Then from there, we combine the Ice-tapped arrows and the Freezing Salvo for the maximum cold damage. Once the boss is frozen or vulnerable, then channel the Snipe for a devastating burst, and follow that up with the Barrage if needed. This combination absolutely melts even the pinnacle bosses. And now lastly, let's take a look at the leveling. So while grinding, you wanna start out with the Lightning and the Ice abilities, until the Ice Shot becomes available at level 9. From there you gradually transition into more cold damages as you unlock the Ice Tap Arrows, Freezing Salvo and the Herald of Ice. The leveling process is smooth, because the cold damage will unlock early. The enemies can hit you if they're frozen solid, and if you're low geared and run into mana issues, then don't panic. Grab just mana on kill from your quiver or a Javel, and simply cast a little less aggressively. The damage is so high that even casting fewer skills will not slow you down too much, and once your gear catches up, the mana issues will disappear entirely.